I never wanted children. Not because I hated them or anything, but because I was afraid I wouldn't be enough. My father walked out when I was 7, and I still remember the echo of the slammed door. Since then, I figured it was better to never try than to try and fail someone that badly. But fate, as it turns out, doesn't care about your plans. It was a stormy November evening. I'd taken a wrong turn after work and ended up on a narrow side street I'd never seen before. The kind of place where the rain always feels a little colder, and the streetlights flicker like they're mourning something. That's when I saw her. She was sitting under a rusted bus stop bench, knees to her chest, soaked to the bone. Her coat was threadbare, barely hanging onto her tiny shoulders, and her eyes, those huge, brown, frightened eyes, locked onto mine the second I passed. I hesitated. People say you shouldn't get involved. Too dangerous. Could be a setup. But I couldn't keep walking. "Hey," I said softly, crouching beside her. "You okay?" She didn't speak. Just nodded, even as her lips quivered from the cold. She looked about 6, maybe 7. Same age I'd been. "You waiting for someone?" Still nothing. Just those eyes, big and tired. Took a breath. "Want some food?" That got a tiny nod. I led her to the diner on the corner. She walked silently beside me, one small hand clutching the back of my jacket. Inside, I ordered her pancakes and hot chocolate. She didn't speak a word, but she devoured everything like she hadn't eaten in days. "What's your name?" I asked. She looked at me then, chewing slowly. "Maya." "Nice to meet you, Maya. I'm Daniel." She nodded again. Still not much expression. Just calm, watchful. "Where are your parents?" Finally asked gently. Her fork froze in midair. She looked down, eyes shadowed. "Gone," she whispered. My heart sank. "Gone like far away." She shook her head slowly. "Gone like heaven." The words hit me like a punch. I looked at her, really looked, and realized how hollow she seemed. Small, too small for the weight she was carrying. I knew what I had to do. That night, after a long call to Child Protective Services, Maya stayed with me. Just for the night, they said, until a social worker could pick her up in the morning. But morning came and they were backed up. So another night, then a week, and every day she grew a little warmer, a little brighter. The first time she laughed, I was carrying a tray of cocoa and tripped on her stuffed rabbit. She giggled so hard she cried. The first time she hugged me, I'd made her a grilled cheese with a smiley face and ketchup. She ran into the kitchen and wrapped her arms around my waist without a word. And then one night, as I was tucking her in, she looked up at me with those same little eyes I'd first seen in the rain and asked, "Will you be my father?" Froze. No warning. No preparation. Just 5 words that cracked open something I'd sealed shut for decades. I knelt beside her bed, brushing a curl from her forehead. "You really want that?" She nodded. "You stay. You care. That's what a dad does, right?" I choked back the lump in my throat. Yeah, it is. "I want you to stay," she whispered. And I did. The adoption process wasn't easy. Social workers came and went. They asked about my background, my job, my income. They poked into corners of my life I hadn't even looked at in years. But I pushed through every form, every interview. Because of Maya. We made pancakes every Sunday. She painted the walls of her room with stars and moons. She danced like the world was hers when music played. And I changed too. I started seeing the world differently. I noticed the little things. I learned to braid hair. I learned that bedtime stories are more powerful than therapy. I learned that love doesn't ask if you're ready. It just arrives and waits for you to say yes. One day, months later, I stood in a courtroom holding Maya's hand. The judge smiled at us. Mr. Reeves, do you accept full legal guardianship of Maya and Carter? I looked down at her. She was smiling. Not nervous. Not scared. Just full of hope. Yes, I said, voice steady. With all my heart. Years passed. Maya grew fast, smarter, kinder, stronger. She still asked for pancakes on Sundays. Still reached for my hand at the crosswalk. She had her mother's eyes, I learned later, and her father's stubbornness. One day when she was 12, she found an old picture of me. I was younger, wilder, eyes hard. You look sad here, she said, tilting her head. I was, I admitted. Then I met someone. She smiled, understanding without words. High school came. Then graduation. She got accepted into a top university. I watched her step into her dorm, eyes filled with dreams, and I held back tears like a dam. You sure you'll be okay? I asked, joking but not really. I'll be more than okay, she said, hugging me tight. Because I know you're just a call away. Now she's 24. Teacher. Mentor. A fierce, passionate woman. And today, on Father's Day, she surprised me at my doorstep. In her hands was a framed drawing she made when she was 6. It showed a stick figure man beside a stick figure girl, standing in the rain. The caption in crayon read, "He stayed." I held it, heart full. You remember that night? Yes. Every moment, she said, hugging me. And then she whispered, just like she did all those years ago, "Thank you for staying." Ending. She was just a little girl with lost eyes when I found her. And now she's everything I never knew I needed. I didn't plan for love. But when she asked me to be her father, I stayed. And I always will.